The wonderful world of the tabletop role-playing game industry has seen a lot of influencers come and go, many of which are wonderful, I'm happy to report. However, some of them weren't so wonderful. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. This is not a Tabletop Tavern Tips video. This is kind of like an abridged version of my old solo podcasts of Tavern Adjacent, which is a series I'm hoping I can do more. But back when I did solo episodes of that show, I would sometimes do little reports on some of the more problematic figures in the TTRPG space. From D&D NFTs to D&D divas to Arcadum. And today, I wanted to give some updates. It's been a couple of years now since those people all had their reckonings, and I wanted to look at where those projects and people are now. What happened after their careers died? Did their careers even die at all? And what did they do in the first place to get banished from the island? What can I say? I felt a little bit wicked today. So, I guess we're diving into D&D drama. Without further ado, let's get started. Okay, first off, I know a lot of people don't know what this project is at all, but I talked about it, and I think Gizmodo made like a single article about it, and then that's about it. But it is something that I know gets the blood pumping in a lot of people, and that is Dungeons and Dragons NFTs. Yeah, D&D actually did come to Web3, D&D on the blockchain, and it came in the form of a project known as The Glimmering, run by the company known as Gripner. At the time, I reported that this project would be a disaster. Frankly, I don't need to go over the reasons, but NFTs are not widely liked. They're seen as overpriced commodities for tech bros to gamble on, while their servers destroy the environment around them. It's bad. And D&D NFTs, well, a lot of people in the D&D world were not exactly welcoming to that Web3 mentality. So, like I said earlier, this project was likely doomed from the get-go, especially since even successful NFT projects tend to fizzle out even after only a couple of months. So what happened after the Glimmering release? Did it end up being the big flop I predicted? Well, kind of. They minted their NFT collection, and while I don't have access to the exact profits, I think it's rather telling that their brand has seemingly pivoted away from the messaging around Web3 and NFTs. However, despite the Web3 talk seemingly being toned down in basically all their branding to avoid the backlash of it, their website is still open. Now, is it successful and active? Well, that's a different story. Gripner's Glimmering wasn't just an NFT collection. Their idea was that you buy these NFTs that are minted on the blockchain and you use these generated NFT characters to play on their website. They created a whole online framework for game masters to find players so they can play together in their ecosystem, possibly using their adventures, which were also published on places like Roll20. There's also free material that you can download right off their website. And you know what? All of these things were delivered on. Their adventures are up. They were released. You can get them. Are they good? The free material didn't blow me away, but it's nothing horrific. The NFTs are no longer called NFTs. They're just called heroes, and you can buy them for relatively cheap prices because, well, it's not like they exploded in value anywhere. And the LFG is up. You can find games, though the community is not exactly thriving. The last time I was there were 2 pages of games open looking for players, and the vast majority of them had 0 players in the lineup, which that is rough. However, even though I despise the very foundations of the project to its very core, I have to give them credit. The bulk of their promises were fulfilled. You can buy characters, and you can play on their servers, on their website. They have adventures that were released. And that makes me think, man, why do they even need to associate this with blockchain garbage in the first place? It clearly wasn't bringing in many eyes. I can't guarantee that it would have been a success if they just released the adventure and the website, no NFT nonsense, but I would put money on the fact that it would have done better. And I think they would agree with me, given that they have turned down all of the NFT, Web3, and blockchain talk on all their socials. Speaking of, many of their socials are largely inactive. Their YouTube channel, their Instagram, their Twitter. I still see videos being posted, but the amount of attention these things get, I mean, damn, they get less engagement than my private personal Instagram, which, yeah, that is very depressing. Can't say they've been very successful at keeping the momentum up. So yeah, the NFT project actually released their product. I can't guarantee that it's good or that you'd want to play it, but it was released. Can't say that for everybody on this list. Oh, Satine Phoenix, how I haven't thought about you in a long time. If you have no idea who Satine Phoenix is, don't blame you. Satine Phoenix was a common collaborator on many of the D&D world's biggest platforms. She was on Critical Role. She was on Dimension 20, working with Matt Mercer and Brendan Lee Mulligan. She ran games on the official Dungeons & Dragons YouTube channel, worked with big names in the space. She ran luxury D&D games through her website Satine's Quest, and had frequent convention appearances. She also had a very successful Kickstarter called Sirens, Battle of the Bards, where she had plenty of big collaborators that got her good funding. $300,000. Well, okay, almost $300,000. I'm rounding up here for the sake of simplicity. But yeah, it's a good amount of cash. However, things were not going so peachy for so long. Chad Rowe, one of Post Malone's tattoo artists of all people, posted a very lengthy thread on Twitter, the platform currently known as Twitter, and he exposed Satine and her partner, former partner, Jameson Stone, for some real toxic behavior. To boil down a long thread very short, Chad was talking to them about some contract nonsense in relation to him doing a tattoo job for them, and things escalated very quickly with Satine and Jameson talking to him in a way that does not befit a professional. This resulted in basically every project Satine and Jameson have ever worked on being bombarded with allegations from the people they worked with. It was everything. People who worked on her live stream appearances, like Champions of the Realm. People who worked on her big appearances, like Satine's Quest, the luxury D&D games. People who worked on the Battle of the Bards book. It was even people who just, pulled her bags during a convention. How do you create a toxic workplace when you're just a convention guest in a hotel room? I mean, damn, take some doing, but she did it. Allegations were flying in from everywhere, and Satine and Jameson handled it unsuccessfully. Jameson had a fairly condescending apology, blaming mental health for the troubles, and Satine did an Instagram Live apology, which, if I said the words Instagram Live apology and you instantly had alarm bells going off in your head, good! You're smarter than Satine. At the very least, she did not pull out any ukuleles. She's got that going for her. So yeah, to say the least, these apologies were not successful in curbing the criticism, and Satine and Jameson quickly fled their socials. Their Twitch channel has not posted in 3 years, and her Twitter and his Twitter, they are completely inactive. She actually did return to Instagram, talking a lot about mental health and about some very serious things that happened to her in the past, which, you know what, I respect anyone with the bravery to talk about stuff like that. However, talking about trauma right after you get outed for causing workplace toxicity, yeah, the message didn't exactly come across with everyone. So what happened to Satine and Jameson in the aftermath of everything? Well, for starters, their Battle of the Bards book is seemingly not coming anytime soon, if at all. I can't guarantee anything. They promise that they will still make it, but I find that to be very unlikely. Their last update was in March, and let me remind you, this is a $300,000 project. Serious capital was invested in this book. And aside from an update where they're saying they're still working on it but don't have a definite release date back in frickin' March, yeah, nothing has happened since. And to say the least, the backers are not entirely happy. It seems that further problems have arisen with the fact that Apotheosis Games, the brand that's supposedly writing the book and editing the book, etc., they are seemingly defunct. Their website is gone, the license expired. So yeah, with the company seemingly underwater and the Kickstarter lacking any updates since March, with the last update being something incredibly vague, yeah, it's not looking good for this $300,000 project. Before the Reddit lawyers go into the comments to say that, oh, people should sue, unfortunately, non-delivery on a crowdfunding project is not necessarily actionable in the court of law. I'm not saying that like it's a good thing. I'm just saying that like it's the truth, because it is. When state governments go after crowdfunded projects, it is typically for something that goes far beyond non-delivery. That may play a factor, but the state's interest is really piqued when stuff like wire fraud gets brought up, not just non-delivery. It's a risk of crowdfunded projects. But beyond the Kickstarter not going anywhere, what else is Satine doing? Does she still have a social media presence? Actually, yeah. Compared to everyone else on this list, Satine actually has the largest social media presence, as she has become a life coach. Yeah, self-help guru stuff. You can hire Satine as your life coach for a price that is... It's a price that is pricing, to say the least. I actually looked at some local life coaches in my area. I had to give my number to a very sus website, which the things I do for reporting, and to say the least, these prices are not cheap, even in the life coaching world. But, you know, if Satine helps someone out there, good for them. She and her former partner, Jameson Stone, have gotten a divorce. She has spoken about some abusive behavior on his end. I cannot speak further on those events. If what Satine is saying is true, I'm happy that she got out of that relationship. Genuinely. It takes a lot of strength to do that, and I'm glad that she's seemingly living a better life. Though I am not glad that she and Jameson, who are working on this book together, are seemingly not going to deliver on the project. Who knows, maybe it will release, but it looks like Satine has left the world of the TTRPG behind. While Satine may be happy to walk away from D&D, our next guy is a little bit more hesitant.
The end of everything that I've built.
How I wish that were true. Arcadum. Arcadum had a very sudden rise to fame thanks to a very, very popular campaign on Twitch. This guy knew how to network. I mean, as a dude who worked in that sort of field, I gotta respect it. He had some contacts with some pretty big people on Twitch. People like JoeCat, people like Charlie from Moist Critical, people like Iron Mouse, who was recently crowned as the top most subscribed channel on the entire platform. Like, that's the kind of person that Arcadum was networking with. The kind of person he had in his game. He was very successful, on the fast track to become the premier dungeon master of Twitch. However, things went downhill when he ran a game for a group of VTubers. Not crapping on the VTubers, they seem like lovely people. It's what he did to those VTubers that's the problem. This game had people like Momo and Iron Mouse. They were relatively new to the TTRPG world, and they were excited to play with Arcadum, but he was a kind of stressful dungeon master. It got so bad, the players actually met up before the game to kind of calm each other down, because Arcadum put a lot of pressure on them to be really good at the game, to be better than they were when they were new. And on top of that, they were already under a lot of pressure because they're playing in front of thousands of people. The vast majority of us do not need to have our first D&D experience in front of a live audience, thank God. And you can only imagine how annoying it would be to have your dungeon master constantly pressuring you on top of the pressure from the live audience. To say the least, they were not pleased. And so they talked with some of the other people in Arcadum's life. And some of the women had interesting things to say about him, to say the least. The next thing you know, a barrage of twitlongers is posted to Twitter, the platform currently known as Twitter, accusing Arcadum of everything from being a toxic friend, to accusing him of sexual harassment, to accusing him of assault. Which, yeah, not good. Arcadum has vehemently denied any claims of illegal wrongdoing, though he has tiptoed around the accusations of him flirting with people besides his girlfriend, who, by the way, he claimed to be his wife, but they weren't actually married. It's a confusing situation. Look, this guy can't even tell the truth about his damn marital status, let alone tell the truth about the allegations raised against him. To say the least, Arcadum's career quickly went down the drain. These weren't just random women that he was harassing. These were people with large audiences themselves. He was extremely narcissistic in these interactions and just assumed that they wouldn't say anything to their audiences or to each other. And to say the least, he was very much wrong about that. He had a fit over it, crying to his audience and to many of his friends about how his career is over and how no one is going to remain friends with him. And you know what? He was wrong about a lot of things, but he was right about that. Because Arcadum, despite the fact that he over and over again proclaimed that everything is over, everything that he built is done, he wanted to continue on. He returned to streaming very shortly after all the allegations came to light to a massively reduced audience. At first, he had over 100 concurrent viewers, but that quickly degraded to 70, 60, 50, and now currently, he is sitting at a preem 30 average viewers. Arcadum once said that 17% of his friends would remain if he stopped playing Dungeons & Dragons. Well, he kept on playing Dungeons & Dragons, and a good... give me a second. 0.76% of his audience stuck around. Math's a little bit off there, man. He has attempted to post a few apologies, but all of them dodge accountability in their entirety. And he can't even tell the truth about his damn Twitch statistics, lying on his Twitter about having far more subscribers and viewers than he actually has, which, yeah. This guy is full on in the good old stage of grief known as denial. I highly doubt he's ever going to leave it. Oh right, he also came back to Twitter to defend Dr. Disrespect of all people. Really reminds me of how easily rumors and accusations with no evidence can ruin lives. But I already made fun of that. But yeah, there's a little quick update and review of some of the nonsense that TTRPG influencers got up to in the past few years. There have been a surprising amount of stories like this, and well, I don't want to make this like a regular habit or anything. I actually had a lot of fun with this video. Do you guys want to see more like this? Let me know. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed, you might enjoy this previous episode of RPG Horror Stories. We talked about a queer-friendly DM who was not very friendly to an actual queer person. Unfortunate. And linked in the cards. But before you go, please leave a like on this one and subscribe to Crispy's Tavern so you don't miss any of our content as it comes out. And finally, if you want to leave your own tips or thoughts, you can go down in the comments down below. Can't think of a comment. Leave the comment influenced to let me know you made it to the end of the video. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all next time. Farewell. The wonderful world of the tabletop role-playing game industry has seen a lot.